Hey cats, what's happening? We had a pretty good ice storm the other night. Everything was covered with a sheet of ice. My front porch steps were like a solid glaze, like a ½ inch of solid, smooth ice. I think there's still some left on the handrail here that you can see how thick it is on there. But that was on the steps. And I thought, well, I don't want to dump salt all over my steps and then track it in and out of the house. So I went out to the man cave and I got my space heater and I ran an extension cord and I just aimed it towards the steps for about 20 minutes and it melted all that thick ice off of there. So, problem solved. Well, welcome to the man cave today. It is another cold winter day. It's not warming up yet. It's still pretty cold and snowy. So we're still burning wood every day. I got some more on the back of the truck there, ready to keep burning this week. And then it looks like maybe next week it might warm up some more. So that's a pretty good thing. Today I was going to talk about relationships, the Harley, the motorcycle versus your spouse, your girlfriend, your love, your family, whatever, your relationships. Has your motorcycle riding adversely affected your relationships? And a lot of people, I think they can relate to this and say, yeah, I think mine has. Now, before I go too deep into this, the relationship I have with my wife is a really good one. We have a lot of trust in each other. We've made a commitment to each other. And with that being said, she gives me the freedom to do what I want to do. And I give her the freedom to do what she wants to do. But still, there's got to be a lot of compromise between the two of us. And that's what makes a good marriage work, compromise. Give and take. So I give up some of mine, she gives up some of hers, we meet in the middle, and it works out good. But really, she's given me all the freedom in the world to ride, and she says, you can go riding anytime you want, and she doesn't care. But I compromise with that. I don't go riding all the time. I don't want her to feel abandoned. I don't want her to be hurt, that I just take off and leave her all day. And that doesn't make a good relationship for us. So I don't know what works for you, but perhaps you've had some issues in the past where your motorcycle has come in between you and your spouse, or your girlfriend, or your family, as I said. So going back to a few years before I met V, I did a lot of riding, and I did a lot of riding, away from my family. I would because nobody else in my family was interested in riding, and it was a passion for me. So, we lived in the city. We lived in Akron, Ohio, and I would get on the bike and take off a lot. I rode with other people. I rode on poker runs. I rode with clubs. I did day runs. I did night runs where I would just get on the bike and take off at night and ride. And there was a lot going on at that time. And in that part of my life, there was a lot of partying and carrying on, a lot of crazy camaraderie. But that was the life I was living back then. And it really didn't do a whole lot for my family situation. I tried to be a good father still to my kids, but when I look back in retrospect, I think I probably could have done a much, much better job at being a dad instead of just trying to be an independent biker and be out on the road all the time. It was later in my first marriage that I thought, well, I really want to tour. I really want to travel around the country. I mean, that was always been my big passion. I really want to tour around the country. But the bike I had really wasn't capable of taking those really long trips. I took some, I wouldn't say long trips, but an hour or two. But that was about it. I couldn't do much more than that on the bike that I had. I always wanted to get a Harley, a cruiser, but I couldn't really afford it. I mean, things were pretty tight. I was working, bringing in most of the income, paying all the bills, and I didn't have a lot of support there. And so it was hard to do anything because I was pinching pennies. Well, one day my ex comes to me and says, I'm going to go buy a Harley. I was like, what? Yeah, I'm going to go buy a Harley. And I said, well, you can't even ride a motorcycle and you're going to go buy a Harley? Well, I'm going to learn how to ride. I'm going to go buy a Harley. I said, well, that's kind of it doesn't make any sense to me, So there was a rift there going on right away. I was very irritated. I was very angry. I thought, why would my ex want to do something like that? And well, she had ulterior motives that didn't include me. I'll say that much and just leave it at that. And it took me a while to figure that out, but I eventually figured it out. But it ended up being a battle back and forth, and we both went to the Harley dealer. She was reluctant to cooperate with me or compromise at all, period. She wanted to get a Sportster. I wanted to get the Fat Boy. She sat on the Sportster and her feet couldn't even touch the ground, so I think that was the end of that battle. She sat on the Fat Boy and her feet could touch the ground, so she agreed. But then that was it. I bought the Fat Boy, I rode the Fat Boy, and she wasn't very happy. It was a little bit later that, I taught her how to ride this motorcycle in our driveway, up and down the driveway. And it didn't take her long before she felt that she had enough skill that she went down the end of the driveway and just took off. And was gone for 3 days on the brand new motorcycle. I didn't know where she was, didn't know where she went, but you see, it was the motorcycle that came in between us. And I mean, it was much deeper than that, but if we didn't have a motorcycle, that wouldn't have happened. The bike came back in one piece, she was in one piece. Then it came to the point where I said, I want to do some traveling, and I want to go to the Sturgis rally on my bike. I want to ride out there again, and you're welcome to come with me. Nope, she wasn't coming with me. She says, no, I don't want to. I said, well, it's kind of like, at this part of our life, the kids were already gone out of the house. My son was in the service. My daughter was married and moved out. And I said, we got to take the opportunity while we can. I mean, we're still young, and I have a lot of adventure in my life. Well, she didn't want to compromise. She didn't want to cooperate. So I ended up going by myself. And that just gave her a greater excuse to dislike me because I had abandoned her. I had left her behind. Well, I offered her to go with me. I said, you can even drive the car and follow me, or I'll follow you, and then we'll get together out there and we can ride together when we're out there. Nope. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So I don't know what she wanted, but it didn't. Her plans were not revolving around me at all. And I tried to include her in my plans, but it didn't work too well. So there was a lot of rift there. And a lot of mistrust. I mean, I went out there and had a wonderful time with some friends and didn't really get any trouble to speak of, other than drinking too much. I was pretty well behaved, but I was accused of, all kinds of terrible things that apparently somebody said that I did or I didn't do, and Yeah, it even made things worse for the relationship. And it continued to sour to the point where it ended up in a divorce. And that was my story anyway. Uh, I'm sure there's a lot of other stories out there where a motorcycle has come in between you and your loved ones. Perhaps you're the guy that just likes to go out and ride every time the sun shines, and you don't really care about what your family thinks about it. That you're like number one. You got to take care of yourself first. Perhaps you work hard all week and you think, I deserve that. I deserve that. I get on my bike and go anytime I want. And maybe your spouse or your kids don't really ever say anything about it, but it might affect them later on down the road. Just to the point that you could have spent a little more time with your family. There's ways that you can share. I mean, my bike has a back seat, and if V wants, she can get on the back anytime and ride with me, and she enjoys doing that, and that way we both go together. She has no thoughts of ever learning how to ride a motorcycle, doesn't want to, and is content just riding with me on this one. But she's also perfectly fine and content with me taking off and riding by myself because she trusts me, and she knows, that I'm not going to get in any trouble. She knows that I'm a good rider. And she worries about me a little bit, but I always come home in one piece. And I don't do anything that would disrespect her or that would make her mistrust me either. I usually let her know exactly what I'm doing, where I'm going, when I'm going to be home, best that I can, and she's happy with that. Now, the other thing that may come into play is dumping money into your bike. Like I said earlier in my life, finances were tight and I couldn't afford a whole lot. I couldn't afford to go out and buy this bike, and I did. I financed it, but it was very, very, very hard to make the payments on it. And incredibly hard to make the payments on it. But I managed to do it anyway, but it put a stress on the rest of the family. A lot of guys just like to dump a lot of money, a lot of parts into their bike. And then everything around the house just kind of goes to pot because they haven't taken any time to fix anything else up around the house. I like to think about, I try to use common sense and wisdom when it comes to that stuff. I like this bike, and I would love to dump thousands of dollars into it. And I would love to sit out here every day and just work on it and fix it and make it perfect in every way, but I also have a wife, I have a house, I have responsibilities, and I tend to those very, very well. And that's what makes our relationship flow. Everybody's happy. If something's broken in the house, I put the money towards that, I fix that, and I compromise, I sacrifice buying new chrome front end for my bike, or new wheels, or things that it would kind of be a money pit. And do I really need it? No. But did we need new carpet in the house? Yeah, it was getting pretty raggy. It would have looked a lot nicer if we had new carpet. So we're going to forget about the bike, and we're just going to take care of something else instead. And that way, she's happy, I'm happy. You know what they say, happy wife, happy life? Well, sometimes that's not so bad of a thing, It actually works. I call it compromise. That's what I say. You got to give a little, you got to take a little. And if each person does that fairly, it works pretty good. It doesn't work good when somebody gets selfish and says, I deserve this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this. I'm going to buy this. I don't care what you think. This is what I'm doing. I'm going riding today. I'm taking off all day. I'll see you later. I don't know when I'm going to be home. Those kind of things don't really make a good relationship. Well, that's my talk for today. I think I pretty much got it all out there. I don't have any problems with, you know, being able to ride the motorcycle at all. And I got a really good, tight relationship with V. Well, thanks for watching the video today. Give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. And until next time, cats, ride hard and die free.